Right, let's start setting up this car, right? So right off the back, let's just drop a null here. So we'll probably want this animation later. So let's call this out, body with anim. Okay, and let's drop a time shift here. And I want this on the first frame. Maybe like that. Let's do connectivity. I just want I like to have class attributes on each. Yeah, we'll do it on primitives. Okay, so let's see if we can visualize that. There we go. So each connected piece now has an attribute. We also have the shop material path. Let's see if we can visualize. Oops, I don't want to visualize it like that. Let's turn that off, and let's change it to, we want color, random from attribute. There we go. So we got the different materials there. So you can see the windows are all one color. The body generally is one color. This bottom piece. Okay, so we got we can use both of them to make selections, because obviously I want some parts to behave like metal, some parts to behave like glass, and other parts we're not going to simulate because they're too small, or they're not just in the area, so we're going to be impacting here, so we're going to be ignoring a lot of it. Okay, so that's what we're going to be doing now, is kind of going through and dividing and splitting up. So first let's drop we're going to be using a lot of these splits. Okay, and I'm going to split the windows. Windows, come here. So for this I can use the press 9, by the way, if you don't see this, press 9, or what is it? Yeah, this button here, to make selections based on attributes or groups. And we want the shop material path. Grab the window, press enter, and there we go. So there I've got the windows coming out this side and everything else out this side. Okay, so I'm going to drop another split. Let's just drop a null here and call this out windows. So out windows. The windows we're going to do later in another sim. Here I'm going to start splitting up the parts that I want to actually bend and behave like metal. Bendy. Okay, and I'm going to use the shop material path, I think, for this. Okay, yeah, so definitely this part underneath for sure. This kind of dashboard, these door pieces as well, which will select the chairs as well, but that's fine. So quite a lot of the car is selected there, but that's fine. We're going to be adding and removing as we go along. Okay, I'm just going to drop a merge because I think we need some more pieces. Okay, so that's gotten rid of a couple of little bits, a few bits and bobs. Drop another split here. Okay, so you can see that we've got all these little bits and pieces that we don't need to worry about, or I don't want to be fracturing and things. There'll be some small pieces here as well. As you're going along doing this, obviously it's a good idea to just drop an exploded view, and it can help you take a look at all the components that you got. So even here you can see we've got lots of tiny bits and pieces that we'll try and remove later also. So with this here, so as I said before, the impact is going to be on the left side, on the driver door side here, so it's going to be impacting there. So we need to focus our attention on what's going on here. So if I come here, you can see now we've got some pieces here that are not going to be able to bend, and that could be problematic as they're quite long, and if they're rigid and everything else around them is bending, it could cause some weirdness. So I'm going to come here to this split, and then select these just based on their just 3D connectivity. We could use our class attributes as well, probably. But I'm just going to grab, I think, yeah, so I'm just going to grab these pieces, and I think this piece from the, or these two pieces from the wing mirror. Okay, press enter on that. There we go, we've got these as well, and I'm just going to merge these back into the bendy kind of group, right? Great. Let's get rid of this exploded view, spacebar and F to see what we've got so far. So yeah, well, from that exploded view, you saw we've still got lots of tiny pieces here that we don't need. So I'm going to drop a measure and use that to see what we've got. So we want to measure the area, that's fine. I don't want it per element. Per element will be per primitive. Okay, and I don't want to measure those. We want to measure the pieces. We've already got the class attribute that we made here. Okay, so it's going to use that, measure each actual piece. And then we don't need to do anything else here. And then we drop yet another split. Let me name this one. That one is also called bendy. And another split to split the small pieces. And so for this, this will generate, you can see the attribute on the primitives, I believe, and it's called area, and we've just got a float value, and you can see that we're going from 6 to very tiny numbers, right? 8.1 e minus 6, minus 0.6. So it's going to be very, very small numbers. So we can use that attribute, call this at area. Okay, is smaller, so it's like an if statement. If the area value is smaller than 0.005 is what I want. I'm just going to invert that to make it tidier. So if I invert it, you know, that whatever becomes true on here will come out this way. And I'll drop a, oops, put a merge here. So there we've got all the tiny pieces. Okay, which I don't want to fracture and, you know, waste, because the fraction can be expensive and take a lot of time. And these bits as well. Okay, which I don't want. So all of this is what I don't want to be bendy. And let me just check that. Wait a minute. If I drop a no, yeah, that's correct. Okay, and cool. And then one more thing I want to do here is, I'm just going to drop in a symbol. So again, focusing on this part, okay, we've got kind of a general selection of what we want to be bendy, but you know, the front parts, depending on how violent the crash is going to be, ours is going to be quite localized around the door. So anything around here at the back and on this side of the car is not going to bend or flex, right? So I want to select kind of these pieces here, and to make that selection I want to use a group, and with a group, you know, I need to be able to, the group will just select points, primitives, or vertices, right? So what I'm gonna do is just pack these up quickly so that I've got each piece as a point, basically, right? So now if I do that, you can see, maybe if I go into wireframe and turn on point view, you can see each piece there is just a point now, and then I can just make a selection of those points, which will select pieces for me, not, you know, cut through pieces, which I don't want. So make a group. Okay, and we're going to group the points now. I'm just going to call this bendy, and we're going to use a bounding box. Okay, and I'll just type in the value. So as I said, you know, it's just kind of this part here. So size is going to be 1, 2, and 2.5. The center, I'm going to move it over 0.4 minus 0.4, sorry, 0.5 in Y and 0 in Z. Okay, so that just kind of grabs that section. You can see we're losing the back, the front, and the right hand side. Okay, and then we can just unpack that. Don't want it to stay packed. Okay, and we'll have to transfer that group from the packed geometry onto the unpacked geometry, the full geometry. Let's turn that back to normal. Delete the name attributes, because this will generate a name attribute, but you know that we don't want to do that yet. We'll do that at the end before we simulate. So I want to, it should be here, the name, there we go. Okay, and then another split. And this time we can just use that group bendy. Okay, so now finally, and then yeah, merge this in here as well. Okay, so all of this stuff we are not going to simulate. We're just going to point deform it basically to follow along the simulation. And then this stuff we're actually going to fracture down and, you know, make it bend like metal. Good.